Continuing coverage of justice in the Crystal Rogers murder case coming out of Bowling Green, Kentucky. The jury's recommended sentence just in, and Brooks Houck recommended life in prison. He's getting the max recommended jury there, Connie, from them in Bowling Green just moments ago.
Life in prison and then 5 years on the complicity charge to be served together. So he's getting a total, excuse me, that's Joseph Lawson. So, but Brooks Houck, life, which we understand could be about 20 to 25 years.
We'll get to that analysis
Yes.
with our Nick Mudd in just a minute. But first, let's go to WHAS 11 Shay McAllister, who's been sending us the word coming out of the courtroom as it has just been happening. And Shay, give us the details of what you just learned.
Okay, so like you guys said, just now they came back with their verdict here. It is for Brooks Houck, life in prison to run consecutively with 5 years in prison. For Joseph Lawson, it's 20 years in prison to run consecutively for 5 years on tampering with physical evidence. Some of the final things that this juror heard before they actually headed it back to deliberate was from Shane Young. He said, he let these kids believe their mom just left them. They didn't. Normally, someone will step up for the defendant and beg for mercy. In this case, no one did. He took the most precious thing in the world away from these kids. Think about these kids growing up without their mama. All of this because this man, pointing to Brooks Houck, decided she needed to disappear. She meant nothing to him. Those kids meant nothing to him. And I'm asking you to implement a life sentence. Keep looking behind me, guys, just because we know that they could be coming out of the courtroom in any minute. They asked the media to come out first, and then the attorneys and family members could come out next. We're gonna have to wait and see if they do. They had asked for leniency. The defense attorneys had asked for leniency in this case. They showed that Brooks Houck has no criminal history. He's committed no crimes before or after this. And they said that he is a father to a son who needs him. Doug and Connie?
Shay, thank you very much. We want to get the view on all this from WHAS 11 News legal analyst Nick Mudd. Nick, Shay just reporting there that the defense attorneys had asked for leniency. That's not exactly what, in the end, the jury has recommended.
No, and you know, when they came back within 4 hours, I looked at both of you and I said, they're in trouble. The defense is in trouble. They're in trouble on penalty because that verdict was quick with the amount of evidence that was given and shown over the past 2.5 weeks. I said they're in big trouble. And I mean, this verdict sends a message. It's not just life, it's life plus 5 years. And I know that it really doesn't make a difference because the parole eligibility for him will be 20 years, okay, before he's able to even be considered to be let out. That being said, when you have a life sentence and the jury says, not only are we giving you life, we're going to run it consecutive. Even though it doesn't mean anything, it sends a message that they are disgusted and that they were, you know, thank God for him. I would say that it's not a capital murder case or, you know, we don't know what they would have done here. And certainly with Joseph Lawson, I mean, what we didn't expect, they gave him the max. 20 on the conspiracy. They gave him 5 on the tampering. They ran them consecutive. They had the option to run them together, which would have been 20. They stacked them together and gave him the maximum possible penalty, which is 25 years.
And that's a little surprising because his father, Steve, got 17,
right?
And he admitted to part of that charge of tampering from the get.
Right, it is.
Do you think the testimony from Girdley impacted their decision-making? Charlie Girdley saying that Joseph Lawson is the one who said he was going to use a skid steer to get rid of Crystal Rogers' body, and then he went on to give many, many other gruesome details. You
know, hindsight's 20/20 in a trial like anything else, but the fact that the jury wanted to rehear that, and they only wanted to hear the direct testimony where the skid steer and the thing with the hogs came out, pulling the teeth, I think they were absolutely and utterly disgusted. And when they heard that, clearly that made it, we didn't feel like Girdley had that, the credibility to potentially push it over the edge to get Joseph Lawson a conviction. But the jury's the one sitting there making the decision. They're the ones seeing his reaction, seeing his facial expression, judging his credibility. And certainly I think this verdict, I mean, 20 minutes on penalty, and they gave the max possible on both of these.
They have been moving rapid fire today, this verdict. The verdict coming at about 1:30 this afternoon, and now just 20 minutes on this. Are we going to, in the end, maybe come back to this lengthy trial and put the flashpoint right there to Charlie Girdley's testimony?
I'd say certainly for Joseph Lawson, that was the big moment, okay? That's what the jury focused on. Again, we were all kind of, our jaws dropped when we heard the testimony about the hogs and the pulling the teeth, because we were just kind of like, oh my gosh, that's so, it's just upsetting, disgusting, and sad. But at the same time, the jury really focused in on that for him. And then certainly with Houck, I mean, again, 4 hours to a verdict, and then 20 minutes on a penalty to give the max and stack the max. They couldn't go beyond life. And I mean, I don't think people understand the significance of that. That is telling the judge, you make the final decision on on sentencing, which is coming up, I believe, in August. But we don't want this man ever to be out of prison.
And so it certainly seems like the jury was listening to what Prosecutor Shane Young was saying, as our Shane McAllister just told us, about no one's going to stand up for him. And again, the jury listening to the prosecutor here.
Yeah, I mean, certainly. And Shane Young, as I've mentioned before, is one of the most seasoned prosecutors in the state of Kentucky. I know Shane well. I've tried a case against him. I lost a case against him, so, you know, I can speak to that. He's very well prepared. He works. You're not going to outwork him. And certainly, I think he took that, what was it, 200,000 pages or something, 200 hours of testimony, and was able to condense that down and pull out the relevant stuff for 2 weeks. And again, I think it came down to three things. Number one, the timeline with the cell phones. Number two, Houck's statement. And number three, if you'll remember, in opening statement, Prosecutor Jim Lisowski said, use your God-given common sense, which is that meant to imply who was the last person she was with on July 3rd, July 4th of 2015.
Are you surprised by a recommended life sentence in a circumstantial case? We've asked you about this a lot, since it's a case with no body, no motive, no crime scene, no weapon.
I am, and you know, I've had a circumstantial case that I mentioned before on the air, and you know, the jury on that case, it was a serious case, sad, and you know, they were still, even when they gave the penalty, I remember talking to the jury after, they were still unsure. I mean, this jury, you know, there are cases that talk about, you know, you talk about beyond a reasonable doubt. This verdict tells me the jury had no doubt, zero doubt that he committed this or was not involved in this at all, zero doubt.
Okay. Nick, thank you very much. We want to set the stage for you of our coverage coming up in just a few minutes. Connie and I'll be here along with Nick Mudd for WHAS 11 News at 4. Our team in Bowling Green, Alexandra Goldberg and Shane McAllister will be joining us for live reports. Also through our newscast going up through 6 o'clock, we are going to have coverage coming in to you from Bardstown, Kentucky, getting a reaction to today's verdict and now the sentencing. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you back here in about 25 minutes.